What if I told you that property managers across Europe are spending hours every day just trying to figure out which tenants have paid their rent? Today I'm joined by Marcel Meitza, founder and CEO of GetMomo. GetMomo is a Berlin-based vertical fintech that's building what he calls the real estate operating system for Europe. With a background in banking and consulting at BCG, Marcel identified a massive opportunity in an industry where the average property manager oversees 900 units and hundreds of bank accounts, but still relies on manual spreadsheets and outdated processes to track payments and allocate funds. In our conversation, Marcel shares how GetMomo integrates seamlessly with existing ERPs, why German banking partnerships were crucial for customer trust, and his strategy for building the infrastructure that could power Europe's largest rental market. We also dive into the shift from traditional banking relationships, where property managers stayed with the same bank for 15 years, to modular fintech solutions that solve specific workflow pain points. My name is Lars Markel, and this is the Embedded Finance Review podcast. Every 2 weeks, I'm interviewing the builders and shapers of embedded finance. And a quick reminder from my side. At Embedded Finance Review, I publish weekly newsletters, bi-weekly podcasts, and host in-person and virtual industry events. You can find all of them on my website, embeddedfinancereview.com. In addition, I also work with non-financial brands, infrastructure providers, and banks in understanding, designing, and launching their embedded finance products. If you are interested in working with me, visit my website and reach out. And now, let's dive in. Hi, Marcel. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today, and in what part of the world are you located right now?
Hi Lars, great to be here. I'm doing amazing and I'm located in Berlin at the moment.
You're also having one of these amazing summer days in Berlin where it's more rain than sunshine.
Enjoying the summer, August, September, amazing.
Really looking forward to take a deep dive into the real estate industry. With GetMomo, you're offering financial service in the real estate sector. Maybe first kickoff question. How would you define GetMomo? Is it a fintech? Is it an embedded finance company? How do you describe it yourself?
Sure. So we are a 100% fintech company working in real estate. Yeah. And what we are building in the end is the real estate operating system for the AI age. And how we do that is in a first step by offering vertical banking services to property managers and housing organizations in Germany.
Okay. So maybe also for those who wonder, obviously this is an embedded finance podcast. Marcel was attending our event a couple of months ago here in April, the Embedded Finance Review event during the FIBE conference, I think in April of this year, where we spoke a little bit. I think it's important to notice, obviously, I would also say like GetMomo is clearly not an embedded finance company, but it's a vertical fintech.
Yes.
And while it's not embedded finance, there's still very often a lot of similarities in the challenges or the things to be solved, all right? And I think at a previous podcast, also Nelly, I think last year in the healthcare space, where we also spoke about, in some cases, it might be also more beneficial to start with a financial product and not with a non-financial product, but still having the customer value in mind and build solutions around it.
100%.
Let's take a deeper dive. What is the product you exactly offer? Maybe we can pick an example customer you're working with and what functionality do you exactly offer them? And how would they have done it without GetMomo?
Sure. So I think maybe let's take a step back and look at the real estate industry and there specifically into property management, regardless if it's for residential or commercial and done through a large housing organization or a mom and pop property manager. The main time they spend is related to some form of payment location. Yeah. In the end, they need to get data into their existing software to be able to check who has paid, who has not paid. And at the end of the year, either if you own your apartment or you're a renter, you get your final utility bill. That is all basically the outcome of all the input factors that go in during the year. And when we look at a regular property manager in Germany, they have around 900 units under management and mostly hundreds of accounts they need to oversee and zillions of receipts they need to do the right booking for. And what we observed is that the process of extracting data from the banking world and bringing this into the existing ERP world is a highly manual process. And the main challenge in most Western countries, but especially bad in property management, is the age pyramid. and property managers tend to be even older than the general working population. So the question that a lot of those businesses are facing is not how can I grow, but how can I sustain my business with less people? Because in the next 5 years, 20% will go into retirement, and they're really like glued to their manual processes of, okay, I'm downloading those bank accounts, I'm importing that, I'm manually allocating. And our pitch towards them is that we say, look, you stay with your existing ERP, because to change that is it's a long process. And we sit on top of that, and we can provide you with all the necessary banking services, and we can automate a lot of the money allocation, payment file creation, everything you think of. So you just save a tremendous amount of time and can do more with less people going forward. And this is not with regards to, hey, you be more efficient, but rather people will stop working at your company because they will retire soon.
And in specific money flows, I mean, I think you're, especially here in Germany, I guess like the typical use cases are somebody moves new into an apartment, there's a deposit to be paid, and then of course after that the monthly rent. And this is basically the money flows that you would do on your GetMomo accounts that you offer the property manager, and that way this data is faster available, or more, I mean, maybe not faster, more efficient, without manual workflows available in the ERP. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct. So I would say the rental spaces, we have two columns in our business. One is rentals, and the other side is condominiums, so the EGs in German, and both need different banking products. For the rent side, yes, you need the deposits. That's the start of everything. And you need the rent accounts. And with the rent accounts, there are different type of accounts that a property manager could use. They either have access to the account of the owner, they have an own account. There's a lot of regulation around it, what kind of accounts they're allowed to use. And for the condos, they also have the normal like payment account, so for all monthly fees, but they also have a reserve account for larger renovations where they save every month. And then condos also oftentimes need credit because they need to do very large renovations, and that's all the products they can access. And for us, let's take the example of deposits. What we offer the property manager, that when they create a tenant in their ERP, that this data automatically gets to our platform. We create a deposit account for that specific tenant that then gets played back to the ERP, and the manager gets informed automatically if the first installment is there, if the second installment is there, and they have a very easy way to check who has paid and who has not paid. And it sounds very, very basic in the first step, but playing around and getting the data from their system into ours and back, and giving them a really easy overview when you have hundreds and hundreds of move in and outs, really is a tremendous time saver for them. And all we do is always in incremental steps that we say, okay, how can we solve the first pain point, giving them better overview, saving time, and then take it from there. And we get so much feedback on other functionalities that say, hey, if that account could also do the following thing. And it's really, really fascinating. And I can say the product development team is not running idle.
It sounds to me a little bit like a fintech plugin for the existing ERP. Basically, you have the existing ERP as a property manager. You are fine with the ERP itself. What it's not so happy with is everything that comes to financial services. So there's this GetMomo. Maybe it's not a plugin, but obviously, like, this is how I would describe it as a plugin. You install it, so to say, on your ERP, and then you get the nice fintech functionality, and everything goes a bit more smoother.
Yeah, I think you have also to differentiate it. There are, I would say, very, very modern ERPs already in the market, but there are also more old school versions. And I think it really depends on what stack you are. And I think our value proposition towards the property manager is, hey, if you use a modern one, amazing, and then we can integrate even easier. But if you have an old one, we can also integrate there. And that's something that, we just get really, really great feedback from the market.
So for you, it doesn't really matter what ERP your customer is running on?
No.
Okay. And one other question, I mean, like, specifically when how you described it, right? So like my first question, it goes all in the direction of like, the role of, let's say, incumbent traditional bank in this whole play, right? I would be expecting like your customers who are signing up with GetMomo, who have not used such a solution before, they have used traditional banks. I mean, not gonna put any names on it, but like I guess like some of the traditional bank names that many people here in Germany know. So my first question is like, is that a complicated pitch for you? I mean, you said also there's the average age tends a little bit higher in the property managers. Now switching maybe from an existing well-known bank name to let's say a fintech startup, vertical fintech startup, GetMomo. Is that a complicated pitch for you, or is the problem the benefit so big that it's not really of concern for them?
I think a couple of things we need to split this, I think, in a couple of things. One, real estate is very traditional. Let's start with that. Yeah. So when we first started out in 2021 and knocking on doors, nobody knew us. We just had our first product launched, and that was a harder pitch because the first question is always, since when are you operating? And they were like, okay, but what if you're tomorrow no longer around? Yeah. So I think real estate, brick and mortar, is just traditional as it is. Yeah. So we build a really strong brand that is helping us. We get a lot of inbound interest. Yeah. Word of mouth is really, really strong. Or very important, or most important for German property managers and housing organizations is, who do we work with? Another bank. We don't accept any payments. I don't want to, no tenant, no landlord is ever transferring money into our direction. Yeah. So it was very crucial for us that we work together with German partner banks. Yeah. Where we can say, okay, this is the deposit insurance scheme. You know, this is actually how it works. And we also tried in the beginning a player from abroad, and I can say they had an amazing product we used, but the managers did not like that this was not a German bank behind. So now when it comes to our pitch, the number one question after we solved this, okay, if are the deposits and how safe are the rent and reserve accounts, is how much work will it be for me? Because a property manager never has time. Yes, that's part of their business, and they maybe have changed their ERP 5-10 years ago and then remembered, okay, it was 2 years of having 2 systems running at the same time. Horrible. I'm not doing that again. And our pitch towards them is really like, hey, we are a plug and play. So you can start, we are modular. You don't need to switch with everything from the start and say goodbye to all of your old banks. But we have a very simple offering. You can try us out. And if you like us, then you can take more products of ours. And because now we have the full banking suite, that's very important to them, that they have the opportunity, but they don't need to from the start. And for all of our customers, we just see the constant expansion, that they onboard more condominiums, more rental accounts, bring more deposits. So it's just growing once they discover the value, and we try to make it as easy as possible. We have a great moving service, and the average property manager has been with his previous bank for 15 years before he changes to us. So there's a lot we need to unpack, but we are very, very successful there.
And in a way, I think this probably makes sense. A lot of industries is kind of step-by-step development, right? Where you kind of give them a hook, say like, hey, this is really good. I know you get it. I know there's still maybe some not trust issues, but they're still not able to trust everything fully from day one. But is there a way to start small with maybe some of the newer rental units, give it a try, see how it works before rolling it out throughout the rest of the organization?
100%. And I think what's very crucial as well is that it's easy for the employees, because also there you have mixed teams. Yes, you have very young people, but you also have more senior colleagues that are used to specific way of working for maybe 20 years. And their biggest fear is that everything will be harder and it will take a lot of time. And when we do the onboarding with the team, then we often hear, this is self-explanatory. Why are we here? And we're like, perfect. Yeah, this is how software should be. The existing solutions that were out there oftentimes have a bit of patina on it already. And we had the benefit that we could start from scratch and develop it in close contact with our customers.
Makes sense. And you said something before, specifically around like your bank partners, that the managers, the owners of the property managers, like really focused on getting German bank partners behind there. That maybe a foreign provider was not as promising. So, from your perspective, from a GetMomo perspective, how was your selection process for these banking partners, right? And maybe to drill down on the statement from this manager, was it really just like, let's say, the bank needs to be headquartered in Germany? Was it more about having a brand name, maybe a German brand name that the person has been exposed to before, and some kind of like trust level is higher? What was the whole like search process for you for the right bank partner?
I think number one, the name should not be burned within the real estate community. For
Okay.
example, during the negative interest period, terminated the contracts with a lot of property managers, and property managers do not forget. So partnering with them would
It's
not
a no-go
be an
for you.
option at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think they took this business decision. And a lot of property managers said, they threw me out and I didn't know what to do, and so on. So I think for us it was important, yes, that it's a real German bank, not only like a branch of a foreign entity. I think in the real estate industry, you have a lot of more niche banks that you never have heard of, but that have a good reputation within the industry. And I think for us, the number one priority was finding, of course, a financially stable bank that was offering the products that we need, and that was willing to also go the extra mile, because you're always dependent on your banking partner. And if they are very slow, then you are also very slow. We, I think, have a lot of experience since 2021 working with different banks, and we just checked, okay, how fast can those partners go? And I think so far we are really, really happy with our selection, because all of them, if they try to solve our requirements extremely fast and directly see a benefit, because we bring additional customers.
But then also, I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about names, but like if you say like let's say more niche banks in the real estate sector might be also not the banks who have maybe, let's say, the most or the most fancy APIs and have a lot of like partnership like this. Was this a challenge for you? Let's say like the technical integration partner. I mean, obviously finding the right strategic partner specifically for a bank that's really focused on the real estate segment, and then getting to know GetMomo. I think this might be a quite nice fit. But was there some challenges, obstacles from a technical side of like having the right integration, or was
I think, of course, I think all of the banks we work with are not the traditional banking as a service providers. So I think that, yes, of course, the first integration, we need to figure things out and build from scratch. But once built, we can use this across our partnerships. And I think this is also a moat, because integrating with more traditional players is something where you need special experience, and we now have this skill set, which is really, really great and gives us a clear advantage, because we don't need to run to banking as a service providers that are not specialized in the industry that we are doing, or do not have the right offering.
Got it. And then you, Marcel, as a founder from GetMomo, how do you look at the developments around like open banking? Because I mean, I guess I know the answer, but like from a high level perspective, I mean, what you described, the functionality, you bring in now these more niche banks into your platform and then connect them to an ERP. With open banking, and we all know it's not today and maybe not in the very, very near future, but you could argue if open banking was in a perfect state and would allow like a lot of like functionality, you can potentially also use existing banks included in the ERP. How do you look at open banking as a founder from your startup? Do you see it potentially as a threat? Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but at one point, or what's your view on that?
Yeah. So I don't see it as a threat. I think the value capture that we bring for our customers is the one, having access to all the data, but the kind of like additional time savings that we bring through the functionalities. And that's something that you, even when you have perfect open banking world, where let's see how long this will take until we get there, with all of the different banks, is something where I'm not afraid. And I think also coming back, maybe an example was, yes, there are niche banks, but we also partner with really large banks in Germany. that have been active also in real estate, but that was not their main focus, and where we help them. So I think there it's really doesn't matter for us how large the bank is we work with. We can do from a couple hundred of millions of balance sheet up to 30, 40 billion, doesn't matter. But the important part is that we can use our connection to make the life of the property manager easier.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not an expert in the industry, but I would have thought as well, like a perfect open banking could have been an issue or problem for you at the very beginning when you were just getting started. But obviously now with the time advantage of building like a lot more, I wouldn't even say niche features, but like tailored features that, again, like, yeah, every bank probably has some kind of like property managers as customers through a personal banking relationship. But like, what kind of banks are really there of a bigger size? We have like so many customers in the real estate segment that it makes sense for them to kind of like build specific, like, because it's not about just like reading out data and initiating a payment transfer as we as a consumer, right? I think without knowing the exact workflows of a real estate manager, there is probably a lot more complexity behind it, and for a bank, it might be quite complicated to put that, a lot of work to put that into an API when real estate companies are only like a sub-segment of their customer base.
Yeah, and I mean, what was great, or I think what's super interesting for us when you look at the market in Germany in general, there are only a few banks that are really specialized in the housing industry in more general terms. Rest of the market is really scattered across the traditional municipal banks and saving banks. Yeah. So, and that's, I think, a great starting point for a startup, because okay, you can bring them a lot of additional value because nobody has treated them with the focus that we can treat them with so far.
And coming back to my very first question of the podcast, when I ask you, like, are you a fintech or an embedded finance company? Obviously, a very, very clear, straight answer that you're a fintech, maybe a vertical fintech in this sector. Like, coming to your like go-to-market strategy, obviously you said you focused on property managers of a certain size, but by now the product you have, the standing you have in the industry, are there also, I don't know if I could call them embedded finance moves, but are there also now for you like potential to partner with maybe some of the ERPs? I described it earlier as a plugin. Is it also potential play now to kind of go a little bit more into that direction, and maybe don't turn into embedded finance company, but basically have some more strategies around there to acquire more, maybe even partners, not just customers?
Yeah, 100%. So we already have a bunch of integrations into existing players, and that's one of our strategic priorities, to integrate more deeply into the existing stack. And we just look, okay, our customer portfolio, what is the number one ERP that's used? What's that? What's next? What next? So that's driving our product roadmap. And we see there also a large shift from the ERP players, because when we started in 2021, we directly approached the first ones and said, hey, are you interested in an integration? And nobody would open the door for us. And we were like, okay, your customer wants this, right? Yeah. And what we have observed over the last, kind of like 2.5 years, there's a massive shift. One, into the cloud, because a lot of solutions are still on premise, but also for the on-premise solutions, that they find ways how external partners can connect, because they see, okay, for example, there are a lot of startups that do like tenant communication. I have a problem in my apartment and I need to contact the property manager, and a ticket gets created. So saves a lot of time. And there are a couple of really large players that do this amazing. And those guys are now all integrated into the ERPs. And I think that was the first kind of like play. And now they have opened up, and that's amazing for us, because we save our customers from double data entry, which is a complete waste of time. And we make the ERP better because we can feed it with live data. So a customer might say, okay, this ERP is maybe a bit older, but through those integrations, I can do everything that I want to, and I'm saving a tremendous amount of time. So why should I switch? So this is for us, I think, a great opportunity. And of course, I mean, with regards to customer acquisition, one is, yes, that's another mode around your own customers, but also that you get recommended from the ERP provider that says, hey, we are working here and you can do everything banking related.
Has there ever been an ERP trying to build something what you're offering? I mean, what you described right now, the features around that. I mean, potentially there could be maybe not one of your strong partners, but another ERP in the segment who maybe looks for a banking as a service provider and then builds a similar kind of like feature set. Has that happened, or is like GetMomo already like so far that it might not be so easy for them to achieve that?
There is one existing player that is now standalone, so just the software suite but who used to be the subsidiary of a real estate bank. They are quite large. They were starting out with this bank connection into the ERP world, and for a long time, no other ERP could bring the same level of or depth of integration. I think now this is more or less through us a chance for the whole market to get the same level of depth into their ERP. With regards to newer players, we don't see anyone who's doing what we are doing at the moment in Germany or even in Europe. Most other places that we see are more focused around smaller private landlords, but not into the housing organization.
Interesting. Then Marcel, what's the focus for you and GetMomo over the next couple of years? Like, what are you working on? What you're trying to achieve? Is it expansion? Is it more product features, more in-depth of the product that you're working on?
We are a vertical play. So our main goal is to build the system of record for the industry. And what we are doing is through the accounts, we see a lot, and what we don't see, we want to have access to make the life way easier of the property manager. So what we want to give the property manager in the end is an agent through which he can ask, hey, who has paid, who has not paid, give me that report, and so on. And we operate on the existing stack, on their existing ERP. So I think everything we do follows this target. So no, we will never go into tenant communication or anything like that. We are not interested in, but everything payment related is a key focus for us. And I think with regards to expansion, Germany is by far the largest real estate or rental market in Europe. But the pain points are very, very similar. The market structures in Europe, for example, when we're looking to France, the market there is even more fragmented. So the level of sophistication with regards to technical solutions is even lower. I think that's one of the topics we're looking at into, okay, how can we expand? Because the opportunity is just there for it.
Makes sense. And maybe final question, how did you get into this problem? Like, what was your personal story? How did you encounter that this was the real estate market needs a vertical fintech play?
Sure. So by training, I'm a banker by apprenticeship, so very, very traditional.
Same here.
After, it's a good start. I can only recommend. And after my apprenticeship, I worked for 1 year in New York City in social housing. I didn't have the chance to go abroad while I was in high school. So after apprenticeship, before starting university, I was like, okay, I want to go abroad, and worked there. And I remember very, very well the first day of work where they said, hey, can you please help us with the rent payments? And I was like, okay, I can crunch a spreadsheet. How can I be of any help? And they were like, no, here in the room. And then they brought me to the room, and there was this big box, and in it were tons of checks, because in the United States, you pay your rent mostly still by check. There are now a lot of specialized players who can help you pay your rent in installments and everything, but even those players mail out to the landlord your rent payment as a check. And I was just blown away, because the bank where I did my training, I would say, did not have the most up-to-date core banking system. So I thought, okay, when I went to the United States, I was ready for the future. And then I was, okay, this is a check, and that's something I know from my training handbook. But I've never seen one for real. So I knew for quite some time that there was definitely a very low level of digitization. After university, I worked for a couple of years for BCG, and when I always wanted to start my own company, and when I was thinking, I was like, okay, it's pretty clear that I want to work in fintech. And then I remembered, okay, I want to that. How is it in real estate? And then I had lots and lots of great conversations with the property managers who mostly are now our customers, and kind of like confirming, okay, the pain point there is real and the opportunity is just tremendous in just simply helping them. And yeah, luckily in Germany, we don't have checks, but we have a lot of other very old school processes.
Thank you, Marcel. I mean, as you mentioned at the beginning, it was not really embedded finance, the topic of your company. But again, I think vertical fintech and also what you just described in your personal journey, I think it's really, really interesting for founders, for startups, but also for innovation in general, like to kind of pick these verticals and build these like tailored fintech solutions. I think what we have seen many, many years ago when the whole fintech wave or the current fintech wave started was all about like this like broad market and address everybody, but especially in B2B, I think there's a huge opportunity still. Maybe GetMomo has solved it or solving it in the real estate space, but there's probably a lot more industry where maybe very vertical solutions are very helpful. I think we're seeing that.
100%. I think when you start out at the workflows, you oftentimes end really, really fast with the underlying banking infrastructure that you need to do the job. And I think this is for every company a great opportunity because those banking revenues can help you subsidize shipping great features on top that give a lot of benefit for your customers. And I can highly recommend looking at different verticals there.
Perfect. Thanks, Marcel. Is there somebody out there who wants to learn more about GetMomo or maybe wants to get in touch with you? What's a good way to reach out?
Sure. I think usually like a ping on LinkedIn is always the easiest. I have to say I'm not checking daily because there's just so much clutter, but I will come back eventually, 100%. Yeah.
I'll make sure to link your profile in the show notes so people can reach out. So yeah, thank you again, and until next time.
Have a good one. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, make sure to follow my podcast and subscribe to my newsletter. And may I ask you for a favor? Please leave a 5-star rating in your podcasting app. This motivates me to source, record, and publish these embedded finance stories. Thank you so much. Until next time.